No.3 from Trois Pettie pieces by Augusta Holmes. This is the A3 piece of the ABRSM Grade 5 Flute exam pieces from 2022. Taking a look at the start of the piece, we are in 4/4 time. We have no sharps or flat in key signature, telling us that we are based in C major. There's quite a few accidentals in the piece, but there's nothing to suggest that it is part of a key change, although there are a few snippets of other scales arising from accidentals. The C major is part of your grade 5 syllabus going up to 2 octaves. It is also beneficial to have a look at the C major arpeggio as well. Although this is outside of the grade 5 syllabus, it is beneficial to also have a look at the F major scales to 2 octaves. As well as the arpeggio. And the last thing that might help is the dominant 7th scale in the key of F, resolving on the tonic. The instruction of play here is allegro, meaning that we're playing brightly as well as playing quickly and fast. Here we're given crochet at 160 beats per minute. Now crochet at 160 is indeed very fast. It might even be too fast. So we have two things to consider here. One is how fast we can move our fingers, especially in the triplet section in bar 20 to 28. And the second thing is how well can you articulate your breathing and tonguing when you're going at that fast. So maybe at a slower pace, crochet equals 144 might be more useful. Now you should already be comfortable playing quavers while counting crotchets. You also need to be comfortable playing triplets while you're counting in crotchets as well. For example, the section in bar 20 to 28 as well as in bar 53 to 60. This piece is through composed, where different melodic ideas are explored using a couple of key rhythms. The different melodic ideas are separated by the double bar lines. The first section introduces us to the main theme of the music, the dotted quaver rhythm moving in thirds, sometimes having crotchets at the end of the bar. The second section has the same rhythmic idea, although moving in the opposite direction compared to the first section, and leaning more heavily on the double crotchets every 2 bars instead of every 4 bars. The third section introduces us to the triplet rhythms, with the phrase starting off in triplets, then coming back onto the familiar dotted quaver rhythm that we know from before. The fourth section has long melodic lines, decorated with appoggiaturas, again ending with the familiar dotted rhythm. fifth section continues the long melodic lines from section 4, but without the appoggiaturas, and also have a more upward melody like broken chords. The sixth section starts off with 2 quavers, one on each of the first 2 beats, and then we have a run of triplets, before ending with 2 quavers on each of the first 2 beats again. The penultimate section has a rhythm like the third section, with the triplets and dotted quaver rhythm, but it is very scale-like in the triplets, essentially the F major scale too. And then finally we have the ending section. The first section introduces us to the rhythm that is prominent throughout the piece, the dotted quaver and semi-quaver combo. Now we know how to count this in quaver, but we need to be able to count this in crotchets, as the speed of the piece doesn't allow us the luxury of counting in quavers. So in crotchets, in 1/4/4, remember, you can slow down and count in quavers first, and then speed up and count in crotchets like this. The rhythm stays mostly the same in the first and second section, with some of the later beats reverting back to a crotchet, like in bar 6 and bar 8. Look out that the double crotchets like in bar 8 have hat-like symbols over the notes, a marcato, meaning that the notes need to be played forcefully like accents. On the surface, it would seem that the difficulty of this piece is mostly due to the speed, but in the first 2 sections that isn't the most difficult bit. The note sequences are fairly simple, as they are mostly step and thirds like scales and arpeggios. The things that would catch you out would be the dynamics. It is written out all over the first 2 sections. The general trend is that you will start off quieter either in piano in the first section or mezzo piano in the second section, and then you will crescendo to a forte to get to the double crotchet. Take bar 5 to 8 for example. You have a 2-bar crescendo going from piano, then going back to piano in bar 7 for a crescendo, ending in forte on double crotchets in bar 8. As the first 2 sections are very similar, I won't cover all the details. The difference between the 2 sections are as below. Section 2 is slightly louder as the lower dynamic is MF instead of P, but they both end the phrases in forte. The second thing is that the shape of the melody is different. Section 1 is more going up and down, while the second section is generally more just going down, as well as the phrases being shorter, 2 bars instead of 4 bars. Do look out for accidentals in both sections, B flats and F sharps, and another reminder to play the dynamics in these sections. The third section introduces us to triplets in the piece. Again, we need to count in crotchets, but it is pretty much the only way to count it anyway. Personally, I find the fingering in bar 21 and 25 fairly tricky using only the basic fingering, as there is a lot of finger movements. There's a lot of lifting of index and pinkies, so I'm going to use a different fingering. For the first set of triplets, the C, D and E note, what I'm going to do is for the C note, I'm going to have the left hand first finger and the right hand everything except the pinky. Then adding everything on the left hand to get to the D note. The difference to this, the basic fingering, we have our first finger down. And then just lifting the fourth finger on our right hand to get to the E note. For the second set of triplets, I'm going to start off the same D fingering with our first finger down. Same with the E, lifting our fourth finger. And lifting our first finger on the right hand as well for the F sharp. Obviously, as this is a new fingering that you need to remember, you might need to take it down slowly and then keep practicing. Now, I've not perfected this yet because I've only been doing this for a couple of days, but hopefully if you're preparing for an exam, you have quite a long period of time to get used to this. Now, these are just suggestions for myself. Feel free to try out the different fingerings, looking up fingering charts, and then finding which one works best for you, because what might work for me doesn't always work for you. We want to keep our speed up in this section because this is going to determine the base speed of our piece, because this is going to be the most difficult section. When we come out of bar 21 into 22 and 23, we go back to the dotted quaver rhythm. Now, technically speaking, going from triplet to dotted quaver rhythm, you could accidentally ending up doing something like a swing rhythm. But in reality, at this speed, difference is going to be minimal. Bar 25, we have a bit of a B flat major going on, slurred and crescendoing as we're going up and decrescendoing as we're going down within the bar. Now when we get to the C note on bar 25, remember to start off with the same fingering you did in bar 21. Now this is because bar 25 and 26 is exactly the same as bar 21 and 22. Now bar 27 is just a third lower than bar 26, but do look out for the accidentals in there. Then in bar 28 we have the double crotchet at the end of the bar again, but it is not the dotted quaver rhythm before it, but two sets of triplet triads instead. We also are in FF fortissimo, so very loud. We have a sweeping melody in the fourth and fifth section. The new rhythm in these two sections is a double dotted crotchet with a semiquaver pair. A double dotted crotchet is a crotchet, plus a dot, which is half of that, which is a quaver, plus another half, which is a semiquaver. What we want to avoid here is playing it as a dotted crotchet with a quaver, so we need to be extra diligent that the last note is shorter. So let's take bar 37 for example. If we play as a dotted crotchet with a quaver, compared to what it should be, the double dotted crotchet with a semiquaver. Now the difference is subtle, but the difference is there. Especially in the fourth section, there are grace notes in front of notes. So do remember to take account of those as you count the note after, not holding on for too long, ensuring that the note after comes in on time. Otherwise you get further and further behind. Good thing that we are playing in sync with the piano as they are counting for us. Also in section 4, beware of the high notes. Anything from the high E and above has a different fingering, and the notes past the high G note will likely need a sharper blast of air to get those out cleanly. So look out for the high G note in particular here. While section 4 has grace notes which affect the rhythm slightly, section 5 has exactly the same rhythm without the approcatura and a lot of the same notes of the 4 phrases. For the first 3 phrases, you get the dominant 7th scale in the key of F. So you have C, E, G, and the B flat. It is just the last 2 notes which we're no longer following the scale and we're just stepping. For the last phrase, we are not going on to the dominant scale, but we still start off with the C major triad, the C, E, and G, just that we're coming down a little bit to the F sharp and then resolving that on the dominant note of the C major, the G note. If we look in bar 45, we can see a glimpse of what's new in the 6th section. We have 2 pairs of quaver and quaver rest, followed on by triplets. It could be difficult switching between quavers and triplets, so you can first practice by counting switching between quavers and triplets. So I'm going to be clapping in crotchets. 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. So the rhythm in bar 45 is like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Look at that, the last beat we have a dotted quaver and then a semi-quaver. So a demo of that with the metronome. The semi-quaver C note at the end of bar 45 is slurred onto bar 46. We also have a new slur in bar 47 that is linked to the first quaver in bar 48. Also from halfway through bar 45, we have a crescendo, so going from piano all the way into forte where we get to bar 49. So a demo from bar 45 to 48. Bar 48 is just 4 C notes, but the first 3 are quavers and the last one is a crotchet slowing to a quaver high C on bar 49. Bar 49 and 50 is the same as bar 45 and 46, but we have a new set of triplets in bar 51. Now these 2 new sets of triplets in bar 51 is similar to what we have in bar 21, except that we're going the different direction, having different notes and also high in pitch. Now because we are high up in this pitch, I've not been able to find alternate fingerings for this section. So unfortunately it's just going to be the basic fingering going through. If you have managed to find alternate fingerings, then congratulations, and please share them with me in the comments so I can also have a go at this as well. What I find particularly hard is the set of E, D and C notes. There's more finger movement in this compared to the D, C and B notes, so I sometimes get kicked up in there and not manage to get through. Following on that, we also have the highest note in the piece, the quaver high A note in bar 52 as well. So a demo of the section with dynamics. The 7th section is like a combination of the previous section, with F scales in triplets in forte, then dotted quaver rhythms in piano, finish off the phase with double Marcato quavers now, not crotchets. What we do need to be careful in here is that when we play the triplet scale, we need to be careful that we are going down and up in a constant rate and not speeding up, because some fingers can move faster than the others. I'm also using the fingering of the B flat, where I have the thumb on here with the B flat key and pressing down the first finger instead of using the basic fingering with our first finger on the right hand to save some time. The 2 phrases here are extremely similar. The only difference is that the last bar, bar 56 and bar 60 is different. So bar 56 compared to bar 60. In bar 60 from B2, it is a note lower, so do be careful that you're playing the right bar and you're not accidentally looping yourself. And finally, we have the ending section from bar 61. Again, we have scales in triplets, but this time just 2 beats, and after that we jump up to a quaver C note, leaving a beat and a half as a rest. We're also in fortissimo now as well. This is played 4 times, and then in bar 64 and 65, we have an E to an F sharp trill for 8 beats. We can do this by having the high E fingering, and then just letting go of our left hand thumb to get to the F sharp. I'm sure you can figure out the last 2 bars just to make sure that you are playing the right rhythm. Bar 67 have crotchet and rest pairs, and bar 68 have quaver rest pairs. We don't want to have a rit here, we want to keep it strong. So from bar 65, and that's finally the end of the piece. Well, that was the tutorial of the A3 piece Gigue by Augusta Holmes. The main challenge of the piece is definitely trying to keep up to speed. We also need to deliver clean passages, especially with tricky fingering sections like in bars 21 and 51, the grace notes as well as the high notes. However, the technical challenges mustn't overshadow your delivery of the music itself. Do make sure that there are lots of dynamics in the phrases, as well as making sure that the phrases are clearly defined and also evenly spaced, especially in the scale section. Take it slow and ramp the speed up slowly, especially with the tricky fingering sections. Do also explore different fingerings options if you get stuck. Hopefully that was useful to you. This is the last of the grade 5A pieces. Check out the other pieces in the playlist when they're up. Also check out my piano and F1 gaming series as well if you're interested. Give a like and subscribe if you like what I did here. Put a comment down below if you want to go over anything specific, or if you want to share your own tips and tricks with your fellow viewers. I'll see you on the next video on Master of None. Bye!